What's up, everybody? This is Dominic D'Angelo of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and it is a Friday. It is Rumor Innuendo, and I'm here with Robert Karpelis, WD Creative _ish on X. A little bit of a bittersweet Friday because we have to tragically talk about the passing of Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster. And Robert, you had a good story that you wanted to share regarding him.
Yeah, I mean, before we even get into it, I mean, obviously this is a big loss for the wrestling community. He's someone who has been so integral to so many promotions, so many incredible moments, so many situations that you don't even realize Kevin Sullivan's fingerprints were on it. Some of the revolutionary character work that he did, you know, going from seeing him as part of the Varsity Club, which was this very sort of straight-laced group of ass kickers, where you saw him with Mike Rotunda, where you saw him with Rick Steiner. It was a very similar to what you're seeing now with American Made, just legitimate shooters, legitimate badasses going out there, and then the devil character that he did really generated a significant amount of heat, no pun intended.
You're right.
You know, this is a precursor to Undertaker, precursor to the Brood and all that. This really was a guy who was capitalizing on this strange phenomenon in the 80s of Satan panic, that devil worship was going on in your neighborhoods. That behind closed doors, this may be going on in the preschool you send your children, or the nice old man across the street. It was a great thing for local news to latch on to stir up fear that there was devil worshiping going on. Kevin Sullivan understood that. He saw this as an opportunity to develop some interesting character work and overcome the fact that he's, you know, height-wise, he's, you know, Dominic D'Angelo-esque.
He is.
And you never saw that with him. You know, he was a shorter guy who projected himself as a bigger man. His character work in WCW, both on screen and behind the scenes, the dude went toe to toe with Hulk Hogan. Like, he was him in the Dungeon of Doom, which was what it was. It was their answer to the cartoony world of the WWF. He was still able to go, like, you can hear him, that little grab, like, Hogan, like, it's funny. And he was part of the creative team that helped launch arguably the biggest moment in WCW history, which would be Bash at the Beach. Yep. 1996, Hogan turning on WCW and joining the NWO. Sullivan was a part of that. And if you go back and watch Who Killed WCW, he's very much a prominent figure in there. And he's a guy who was like, look, I was just trying to do my best with whoever was in charge and whatever it is that they wanted. Has a great mind for the business, but knows I'm sort of at the mercy of whoever's holding the pen. Right. And by the pen, I mean, sorry, but I not really whoever's holding the pen, whoever's holding the piggy bank. That would be the more accurate answer. Have you ever run across the Taskmaster?
Very briefly, I saw him in passing at one of the Starcasts, I believe, and then he was a guest on Click This when they did Nash and Friends. So I got to see him over Zoom and stuff like that and interact with him a little bit there. And then in addition to, my brother Marcus became very good friends with him, you know, corresponding with him through ad-free shows and things like that. And so they would keep in touch. And Marcus even got to ride him from Huntsville to the airport, and they had a long conversation and formed a friendship that way. And so I got to sit in when Marcus had him as a guest for the Snake Pit with Jake Roberts. And so brief interactions with him, always such a nice dude, obviously a big sports fan, big Boston Red Sox fan. And, you know, we just had that personality about him. Kevin Nash loved him, having him there as a guest. And you can just see, you mentioned it, all the lasting influence that he's, we mentioned it, I think, in the group text too, like the Wyatt Six. Like, you see what they're doing. You see Dexter Lumis has the X on his forehead and the eye black, and you look, it's like to a T with what Kevin Sullivan was doing back then. And then, yeah, you mentioned it did the Satanic Panic. I remember him telling the story too about him literally going to the grocery store dressed like that to freak people out and to like cause this concern and, like, you know, what is up with this guy? Is there something up with this guy? And
Do you
it's
know what it takes to really freak people out in Florida? Like, you really got to up your, especially in like Central Florida where he was, and like Tampa. Like, you're going to see it 8 dudes dressed like that if you go to a Publix in Central Florida. So I'm glad I'm in South Florida. I'm far away from our friends in the Clearwater, St. Pete, Tampa Bay area. But what was cool was getting to work with Kevin in MLW. We had brought him in, and it's great because you see the image of Kevin Sullivan, you see the Taskmaster, you see the Devil, and then he's just this dude sitting in a Red Sox t-shirt talking about baseball and lobster fishing.
yeah.
Reading a book at the time, he was super into it. We talked about Florida since he had a gym that was further south, I think in the Keys area. So very unassuming guy, but we were putting together Battle Riot, which was sort of our answer to the Royal Rumble.
Right.
20 men, 30 men entering, but you could win by pinfall, submission, or elimination over the top rope. And him working with Bruce Pritchard, and the two of them sitting there and watching those guys map everything out with us was so fun to kind of just get a peek behind the curtain. But we were doing a storyline at the time. And the storyline was we had the Hart Foundation. Believe it or not, we actually had the trademark to the name Hart Foundation, which
Wow.
it boggled my mind that slipped through WWE's fingers at that point. We had the trademark to that and War Games at one point.
Wow.
But so we had this new Hart Foundation. It was Teddy Hart, and it was
Davey Boy Smith Jr.
here.
Mhm.
So we have this duo, and they're trying to recruit Brian Pillman Jr., who's now Lexus King in NXT. And the idea was they're trying to pull him in because of the Hart Association, and they're villains. And Kevin Sullivan is like, look, in character, obviously, he's like, I'm fighting for your soul because I messed up with your dad. I didn't step in. I should have helped your father. Obviously, we had our issues, the Booker Man segment, but I failed your father. I will not fail you. And it leads to this confrontation, this moment where Pillman has to choose sides. And we're filming this in the hotel in Westchester County in New York,
Mhm.
and we're in this corridor. And so the idea is like there's an upstairs case and a downstairs case. So it's this great visual of like, are you going to go up and join with Kevin, or are you going to go down and join the dastardly Hearts? And he's not sure what he's going to do. And he's got the Hearts on one side, he's got Kevin on the other, and he takes this cane and he cracks it across Kevin Sullivan's head. It breaks. And Kevin's like, hit me as hard as you can, brother. Like, we got to make this thing look good. So there's this loud crack, and then Kevin blades, and he is bleeding like a stuck pig. There's a pool of blood on the floor, and he's doing all, and it's like there's this sense of gratitude that at this point, MLW, like, we're sort of the upstarts. We barely had a TV deal on BN Sports, and Kevin Sullivan is this legendary figure, and he's doing this for us. So we're getting him cleaned up after this. The shoot was incredible, and we're all upstairs in this top floor ballroom where we do our pre-tape room, and all of a sudden we hear footsteps in the doorway in the stairwell. There are a number of armed police officers in tactical gear. We look out the window. The building has been surrounded by police because people heard the bang and thought it was a gunshot, and then saw a pool of blood in the stairwell. So at this point, we're like, oh no. The cops walk in, and the very first person to approach the police, Teddy Hart.
Oh my, what a start.
I got this, guys. I'm going to go talk to the cops. I'm like, the hell you are. You are not. And once we explained it, hey, we have permits. We're all good. This was just a misunderstanding. We're fine. But there was a very short window of time where this Kevin Sullivan pre-tape was going to get us all killed.
That's right.
So when I thought of Kevin, like, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is that moment. And it's kind of the goofy beauty of wrestling. Rest in peace, Kevin Sullivan. I'm glad that to some degree he did get his flowers. I know Tuesdays with the Taskmaster, that was on ad-free shows. Like, he really understood how much people appreciated what he did for the business. And it's kind of fitting that the last public appearance of him was that Who Killed WCW, and a chance for him to really lay out in a really positive way what his contributions were to the sport of professional wrestling.
It's fascinating too to think about the story he told about holding Hulk Hogan hostage. That was his job. Is he
Yes.
literally held him hostage to keep him from not staying away from not turning heel, and he got him out there, and it all worked out. And wow, it transcended the business in so many different ways. Really defined a different style to bring to pro wrestling, and the form of entertainment that we really, really do enjoy, and people get a lot out of. So, I mean, R.I.P. Kevin Sullivan. It's neat you mentioned Battle Riot, because that was the first MLW show I ever went to. And little did I know he competed in the Battle Riot too. Wasn't he in the match itself?
He was in the match. He even had the spike, but he still wore the Boston Red Sox shirt.
Yes, he did. Uh-huh.
I didn't realize you were at that show.
I was. That was my first big media event kind of thing, was going to that and covering it, because I was there for WrestleMania weekend. So pretty neat. I was unaware of that too till the picture got posted today on MLW, and I was like, wow. So I was there for that. It's pretty neat to think about.
I was there's a great shot our photographer Harry Aaron took of, it was Tom Lawler standing on the second turnbuckle holding up the title, and you just see the packed ballroom that we were in, and we made it into a t-shirt. I actually have it, and I'm right there front and center on the shirt in the balcony, because I was running entrances. And what was terrifying is the first time at this nightclub that they had ever hosted a wrestling show. Now other companies host wrestling shows there, and they're like, okay, the club owner's son, grown adult son, is going to be working with you in the booth. So I'm loading up all the music and the graphics, and I'm running, all right, this guy's going to come out now, and here's going to hit this and hit the music and directing traffic and all this stuff. And this guy had no clue what he was doing. Russian gentleman. And I don't want to make any sort of assumptions. However, based on the tattoos on him, the kind of Russian gentleman you did not want to run afoul of. But I was unaware of his associations with all of this allegedly rumor and innuendo until after the fact, when I get told that I was apparently screaming and berating at a very important man within the New York Russian legitimate sanitation worker, pipe fitter, whatever euphemism we want to use here, entity. So I took my life into my own hands to make sure that was a good show, Dom.
Well, you did a darn good job, Robert. Let me tell you.
I did. We're doing a darn good job here today. So we're gonna. I'm not pivoting to Blue Chew now. As much as that, I know that would pop Sullivan.
He wouldn't care.
He would have loved if it was
you were better.
If you want to unleash your little devil.
Oh my god.
You know what? The hell with it. In honor of Kevin, he would love it. In honor of, hey folks, if you want to unleash your little devil, our next sponsor needs no introduction. You've seen the ads. You've heard us talk about it a million times, and I bet there's a big part of you, pun intended, that wants to try it. What am I talking about? Blue Chew. That's right. This isn't your grandpa's blue pill. This is the one. The OG chewable tablet for better sex. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part, it's all done online. No waiting in line at the pharmacy, no visits to the doctor's office, and no awkward conversations. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Blue Chew wants you to have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And guys, if you want to be the taskmaster in your bedroom, Blue Chew wants to help. They want the entire country rock hard. They told me that's the mission. They will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house, till every tent is pitched, till every rod is raised. Discover your option at BlueChew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR, to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this very solemn edition of Rumor and Innuendo.
Thank you, Blue Chew. Thank you, Blue Chew. All right. Let's talk a little SmackDown, which,
if you insist,
will certainly have some influence from Kevin Sullivan, because the wrestling product does. Triple H, by the way, went on online to pay tribute to him as well, too, which was
really what did he say? I didn't see that.
Let me pull up the article, because he wrote a nice little statement about it.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot here.
That's okay. But no, it was cool because WWE was pretty quick to honor him, and then Triple H added a quote to it too. So let me see if I can.
It is unfortunate Sullivan never got into the Hall of Fame. I feel like he's a guy one year that they could have absolutely put into the WWE Hall of Fame, and it would have been a hell of a speech.
Oh my gosh, you think about that. Yeah, 100% that would have been. Well, this is what Triple H had to say. He said, Kevin Sullivan had one of the most unique minds in the history of our industry, pushing creative boundaries and developing some of the most intriguing characters to step into the ring. He had an unwavering passion for what we do. My thoughts are with his family, friends, and fans. So very nice tweet by Triple H there. So
love it.
Yep. Speaks well to who Kevin Sullivan was and his legacy in the business. So, well, let's talk some SmackDown.
Oh, okay. Yes. SmackDown. I was going to say, it's really nice that they're willing to acknowledge someone who was not part of WWE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's neat that those doors are kind of open too. So,
I'll be right back. I got to step out for a second.
That's okay. The doors are open for SmackDown and Roman Reigns. He is returning tonight after making his return at SummerSlam in a big way. So it'll be pretty neat to see how they position him, if he's going to kick off the show, if he's going to close out the show. He can kind of do that either or, I'd think. But it's going to be a very exciting thing. But the lineup is pretty interesting for SmackDown because no matches are announced. This is literally what they have lined up here. Roman Reigns returns. Cody Rhodes is set to appear. LA Knight is set to appear. AJ Styles is set to appear. And then Nia Jax is set to appear for a championship celebration. So, a lot of appearances, no matches announced. Robert mentioned Roman Reigns coming back. Obviously, we saw him on SummerSlam. Now we'll see him on SmackDown. Would you kick the show off with him? Would you end the show with him? Does it matter? And how would you handle Roman in this situation?
I think you got to open the show with Roman Reigns. We know, based on his entrance alone, that could be 20 to 27 minutes of television.
Yep.
We know that they are up against the Friday Olympic replays that are going on. We know that it is it's the reason why most folks are tuning into the show. So what becomes compelling is you're opening with Roman, and while he's walking out there, while he's showing up, you're talking about all the other stuff that we're going to see. You know, we know Cody's going to be there. We know LA Knight's going to be there. We know Nia Jax is going to be there. We know this is the fallout from what there was at SummerSlam. So now we have to tell the why Roman why story. We have to tell the Solo Sikoa response. We also have to set up who the challenger is for Cody at Bash at Berlin, which this is the crazy part of all this. Given that Orton is going to be challenging Gunther over on Raw, given that you're probably not going to immediately pivot to Cody Roman, which, who are we kidding? And you're probably not going to do Cody Solo again. The list of challengers for Cody Rhodes gets very, very small. We know AJ Styles is back. We've seen it twice already. Mm-hmm. Shinsuke Nakamura is a non-factor essentially on SmackDown. The guy who would have been perfect for this spot, ironically enough, would have been Bobby Lashley.
Wow, you're right.
You know, This would have been the time you got to heat somebody up who looks intimidating, who feels like a number one contender. Lashley would have been that guy. But we know that it looks like Bobby Lashley's contract's going to be lapsing and he's going to be stepping away. So I'm curious to see where their pivot's going to be. Joseph Wade Walters here suggests Cody KO. That's a tough one because I don't think you want to do babyface.
Yeah, it's a difficult, and like Kevin Owens is a hot act, but I don't think it's already kind of predictable of what's set to happen. I think you want to pack a punch right after SummerSlam too and keep fans invested, especially when you're going to a new big place like Berlin too for a PLE. So
it is, and if you go back to the AJ one last time. It does feel like you're a little creatively bankrupt at the moment in terms of your number one contendership.
Well,
So
Robert, you mentioned on when we did Rumor and Innuendo on, I think it was Tuesday, because we were talking about Raw, this was like a WrestleMania after Raw, or a Raw after WrestleMania in regards to SummerSlam here. So maybe there will be some sort of surprise when it comes to who we might see on SmackDown when it comes to who Cody's challenger could be. Somebody they pull out of left field completely. That would be great. I don't know.
Charlotte Flair.
There we go. She's back.
Ever go after Cody? Yeah, they could have a surprise. They could have ideas built up for where this is going to go. I'm just as curious as everybody else, and I think the idea of not announcing a ton makes it interesting and compelling. Because yes, you are going to have the coronation of Nia Jax. You're going to have LA Knight there. Who his first challenger is going to be, I still think the winner of the Carmelo Andrade feud feels like the natural pick. In the short term, there is Austin Theory or Grayson Waller to feed to one of those guys, but there's enough interesting stuff coming off of SummerSlam that you don't have to reveal a ton beyond, hey, the guy you've been chanting for since the moment he left, he's going to be on TV, and you know he's going to talk for a while. I don't think we'll see Heyman, though.
No, I wouldn't want to. I don't think either, because I think he's doing a great job at like not being on television because of what happened to him. So I think you can really build to the return of Heyman and make that feel even more significant than him just even showing up at today. So Wrestling Old Head says, "Bring Jack Swagger back." That's actually
I tried to ignore the comment.
Did you?
Yeah.
I liked it. I like it. Do it.
You would
have him bring the Eagle back too. I would be all for that.
You're a monster.
I want the Eagle. I want it.
I'm trying to make the comment go away. It won't
yeah, I know. You clicked on it, and then I clicked it back.
It won't leave. Like the thought. My God, can you imagine? Though, I got to tell you, if in 1 week Triple H can get over Bronson Reed, Odyssey Jones, and Jack Swagger, Booker of the Century.
That's it, man. He's on a hot streak. Who would you line up for Nia Jax coming up?
Depends on who I hate. You could very easily do a rematch.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a safe bet to go ahead and go for the rematch. I know Mia Yim has been sort of feuding with her on and off. There's always Naomi. I think a rematch seems like the safest bet. Get it out of the way and clear the path for the PLEs after.
Well, let me ask you this. Bayley lost.
Yes.
She hasn't had a great babyface run, I don't think. What would you do with her moving forward? Is there something that you would charge her up to make her kind of a different type of babyface? Or how would you position her to get her in the right spot to kind of, I don't know, re-energize those batteries that hasn't clicked with the fans, I don't think.
Well, now she's a motivated challenger.
Mm-hmm.
You guys screwed me. I'm going to come and do everything I can to win back the title that I lost. And sometimes a chasing babyface cures everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be curious to see what happens.
Me too. Well, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this because we were going to talk about this
we were going to open the show with this. I made that promise, and then Kevin Sullivan was like, he's pulling the booking decisions, and he's like, "No, guys,
not today, brother."
Why do you keep turning him into Jimmy Snuka?
I don't know.
I know that I'll say brother a lot, but it's like brother. Like, come on, man.
Well, I got to work on the Boston accent. That's an issue. Yes. So the Gawker movie. Rumor is going to be Ben Affleck portraying Hogan. In PW Insiders, Mike Johnson revealed on August 2nd that Killing Gawker was being developed and could have Ben Affleck play the role of Hogan. In addition to it, reported that project may launch in January of 2025. Variety's Katzy Steffen confirmed on August 5th that the film was being developed and added that Gus Van Sant is set to direct it. Van Sant has famously worked with Affleck and Damon as director on the Academy Award-nominated movie Good Will Hunting. How about that, Robert? Pretty surreal. Can Ben Affleck pull off Hulk Hogan, brother?
Yeah, why not? Oh, look, I think it'll be really interesting. The fact that Matt Damon's involved, I think they said he may be playing Peter Thiel. It's gonna be interesting. I think what they did with Air was a lot of fun. Obviously, going back to Good Will Hunting, it's a great film. There's a lot of prestige when you put these guys together. I think they'll do some justice to it. I think seeing the potential transformation for Affleck, if he's able to pull it off, it could be a hell of a lot of fun. I didn't think Zac Efron was going to be a great Kevin Von Erich, and he proved me wrong. So, you never know. I think that the story is really unique. It's a bizarre story. If you haven't watched some of the documentaries about it or read about it, it's worth going out of your way to hear how Hogan basically brought down this massive media empire. And then it totally derailed his life for a very long time, to the point where he ultimately wound up a pirate at WrestleMania. Yeah. So the strange thing, if I'm Ben Affleck, though, if I'm doing this film, knowing that I'm going to then have to go on a press tour where there's going to be some unscrupulous reporter somewhere, not a Chris Van Vliet, not a good reporter, but some whatever, they're going to ask him, like, have you ever recorded a sex tape? And then it's going to be a whole thing. Okay. Given that he's potentially going into a high-profile divorce right now, this will be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be. My goodness, you think about it too. I did not see Ben Affleck as Batman, so I can't attest for how he did it with that. But him as Hogan sounds.
He was a better Batman than you would think.
Really?
Those movies are not great. I am not here for the Snyderverse of DC films, but Ben Affleck was surprisingly good as Batman. But it kind of goes back to, like, Kevin Smith, whom I hold in extremely high regard. Mm-hmm. Always said, I think Affleck can play anybody. It's like, in my mind, he could play the shark in Jaws. So let's see what he can do as the Hulkster. We got 2 minutes left. You want to tackle the last news story or wrap it up?
Yeah, let's touch upon it before we close out, I guess. Also, yesterday, some news broke about the status of Ricky Starks. PW Insider Elite. Numerous WWE sources stated that there's certainly interest in a number of AEW stars whose deals are close to expiring or have been off TV for some time. One of those talents, Ricky Starks. Although there's no words whether they're WWE and Starks have been in contact, nor how long the former AEW World Tag Champ remains under contract with the promotion. It's also noted that WWE remains interested in Daniel Garcia, who has still not signed a new deal with All Elite Wrestling. Also should add, obviously, the Lucha Brothers. Their deals are set to expire. Ray Phoenix, I believe, removed himself from an indie date. So there's some indications that they're going WWE. Robert, I talked about how Cody felt like a huge gut punch that AEW never recovered from. And then they lose CM Punk. Then they lose Jade Cargill. Then they get Ethan Page, and they get Shawn Spears. Now they're getting even higher rated talent in somebody like a Ricky Starks and somebody like two people like the Lucha Brothers and a rising star in Daniel Garcia. If this happens, what do you think the impact's going to be regarding AEW and the viewpoint on it?
It's a telling shift if they wind up getting a guy like Ricky Starks, because this was sort of a homegrown discovery for AEW. This was a young guy, a talent that they put a lot of time and effort into. They gave him a lot of TV time. He was part of a lot of major storylines. We saw him wrestle Chris Jericho. We saw him as tag team champion. We saw him work with CM Punk. People clearly see something in Ricky Starks as a guy you can develop. And my criticism of AEW for quite some time has been they have yet to show me how they can truly develop young talent. If you take young talent like Danny Garcia, you take young talent like Ricky Starks, and you can't advance them to the next level, at the same time you squander Penta and Phoenix, it rightfully does create a lot of questions about how viable and how strong your booking ability is to leverage TV. A lot of the talents that they have gotten over were pre-assembled. MJF, not to be that guy, but it's like, had him in MLW, we made him fully formed before he showed up in AEW. Darby Allin, the Darby Allin that we had day one in MLW is the same Darby Allin you have in AEW. Swerve Strickland, just about the same guy that he was handed over. Sammy Guevara, same guy you want to punch in the face repeatedly. So it's not like they've taken a guy that they've discovered from out of nowhere, molded him from scratch, and put him on TV and let that guy skyrocket. And I feel like you had a chance with the Starks, with the Danny Garcia, even with the Penta and Phoenix, to say, these are our guys. These are AEW originals. Look what we're going to do with them. We're going to make them massive superstars. And instead, they're going to go be massive superstars potentially on NXT and WWE. Speaking of massive superstars, you sat down with a massive superstar last evening.
Yes. Mr. Rob Van Dam. Me and him recorded, 2.5 hours. We talked about plenty of different stuff, including Cody Rhodes mentioning how WWE made an effort to pay tribute to the legends over SummerSlam weekend by sending a roster-wide text about them all. We cover a lot of different ground when it comes to just his different perspectives. Oh, big time. We talk about Cena, working with Cena, why he considers that ECW One Night Stand match the greatest match he's ever had, and we put context behind it. And then plus the value of being in a video game and being an action figure and certain things like that, and how it reaches out to a different fan base in certain ways. So really, really interesting conversation we had. Be sure to tune into that. We'll drop Monday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on rvdtv.com. We also recorded Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA, and Greg Gagne. Covered some fan questions. Had a great time talking about that. Covered SummerSlam. Got some good perspective on the modern product with Magnum TA and Greg Gagne. So take a look at that. Go to fourhorsemanetwork.com. Robert, you and Scott Chaplin recorded a good one of Working Stiff yesterday as well.
We did. We had a great episode of Working Stiff talking about it was one of the great freewheeling conversations where you never knew where it was going to go and pivot. It was everything from what happens when your electrician happens to be a wrestling fan to what we saw on Raw. We saw on Raw and AEW, and our slightly more explicit thoughts on the Gawker movie. So, and my full tirade about Britt Baker, which, oh man, that felt good.
I bet it did.
But you know what feels good, guys? Tuning in here every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, Rumor and Innuendo on a plethora of platforms, including the WWE Creative _ish X account, the SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube on ad-free shows, Rumor and Innuendo, and Working Stiff. So on behalf of the new devil, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
As Kevin Sullivan would say, let it simmer. Oh, gotta hit end. Let it simmer, guys.
God damn it.